Morning, afternoon,
Good morning, Helen.
your morning. How are you?
Not too bad. And yourself?
Good, very good, thanks.
Awesome.
Everyone's arriving very promptly, which is great.
We shall see.
Super. I've got 22 people so far, which is great. Super, up to 25 so far, so I think we're waiting for another 12 or so. How many were you expecting, Chris?
Maybe 6 or 7 more.
Yep. Okay. Well, we're up to 29 now. So shall we hold on for half a minute more in case anyone else joins? Or would you like me to start and people can join in?
Just do a quick scan through who we have here. I think no, we're good to start.
Okay. Brilliant. I will share my screen. Are you able to see the title screen? It should say Team Training Getting Started.
Yeah. Yep.
Brilliant. So today we're going to be running through very quickly what Scoro is, and then get.
Hey, Martin, can you just mute your computer? Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. We'll walk you through some of the Scoro basics, how to kind of navigate and find your way around, and then do a bit more of a deeper dive into how you find your projects, your tasks, and log time. So, my name is Helen. I'm an onboarding expert here at Scoro, and yeah, at any point if you've got questions, do feel free to just jump in and unmute yourself or put a message in the chat. So what Scoro is in a nutshell, it is a work management solution made for agencies, just like you guys, to help you get your work done and save time. It brings lots of different things under one roof. So whereas at the moment you might be switching between lots of different apps and spreadsheets that don't all connect, Scoro helps bring all of that together. Right, let us jump in to Scoro. I appreciate that a lot of you are very tech savvy and, you know, familiar with finding your way around kind of digital interfaces. But at the same time, you know, a new system can sometimes be overwhelming, lots to take in, lots to remember. So it's certainly not the expectation that you'll remember everything from the get-go. I'm recording this session so you can look back on it, and there's a really good help center with lots of information, and obviously Chris and Matt, who we've been working with very closely, will be on hand to help if you've got any questions afterwards. And I believe, Chris, are you staying on after this meeting to help everyone get set up with their logins? Is that right?
Yep.
Perfect. So yeah, that will be what happens after this. So you'll all yeah, get a link to your Scoro site with your login, and Chris will help set all of that up. So the very first thing that you will see when you log in is what we call your dashboard. And your dashboard is like a landing page which can be customized to give you all the information that's important to you in one place. So they're really, really handy. They also function as a portal. So everything we can kind of see here, every widget or piece of information, we can kind of click through to get to the source of that information. So for example, the starting kind of widgets that you'll see when you log in is how much time you've logged today, this week, any tasks that are over deadline, calendar, a list of your tasks and a list of your active projects. And these will all be personalized to you. It will be your time that you've logged, your projects that you are assigned to, etc. Just a point over here, we haven't got much of the actual project and task data in Scoro yet. That's something that you'll all be getting involved with tomorrow. Just to kind of set the expectation that for most of you, my tasks and my projects will probably be blank when you log in today, but they will definitely be filling up fairly soon. Don't worry about it. So the other thing that you'll be able to see up here is your menu, and this is also customizable. This will be a running theme of today. So you're able to control what you see in your menu and the order of things. So if there's a module that you never use or one that you're clicking on all the time, if you click on these three little buttons and click on menu settings, you've got the option in here to drag and drop things to a different position. If you don't want to view something here, you can kind of get it out of the way, etc. And then when you're finished making your changes, you can click save. So that's a really handy thing to help you get the best experience possible. And finally, well, not finally, there's lots more that we'll cover, but just in terms of the menu up here, you'll see that in the top right, you've got your profile icon. Now, I'm logged in under Angelica, just for the purposes of this training session, using an alias for Angelica. You will be able to see when you click on that, that you've got the option for profile settings. And this is where you can do things like manage your password, add a picture and all that kind of thing. So that's where that all lives up here in profile settings. One more very handy kind of little tool tip before we jump into projects and tasks is this help button over here. So no matter where you are in Scoro, there'll always be this help button. And if we click on it, what it does is brings you up with content that is specifically related to this page automatically. So you can see that, you know, we're on the starting dashboard. It's offered us an overview of Scoro, dashboard setup, but we can also use a search over here as well. So let's say I'd forgotten how I can customize my menu. I can start typing in menu, and then we get the option for setting up the menu appear over here. Any questions so far? Alrighty, I will move on to the next section, which is how you find your projects. So there's a few different ways that you can access your projects. One way, as we saw just before, is your personal dashboard will show you your active projects. So you can get to your active projects from your dashboard. But you can also click on projects in the menu up here as well. And that's what I'm going to do now. And just for the purposes of testing, we've assigned Angelica to a lot of projects, so we can see some stuff in the list here. Don't worry, Angelica, I will delete all of my test projects after we've had this training. Yeah, this is been set, as we can see through the filtering options here, to default to my active projects. By default, Scoro won't show you projects that have been marked as completed. If it did, you would very quickly start losing your active projects in the sea of ever-increasing completed ones. So there is a filter or kind of a default setting that only the active projects will show. However, we can, if we click on this filter option over here, see that there's lots of different options for kind of delving a bit deeper. And here's where we can see that if we wanted to see any completed projects, we could tick on that and change our view. But by and large, you know, when you're just doing your day-to-day work, the default view, which shows your active projects, is going to be the kind of optimum view for you. You'll also be able to search. You might end up having quite a long list of projects in here, and it's not fun scrolling through a list of, you know, 20, 30, 40 to find the one that you want. So this little keyword search up here, we can just start typing in the name of the project, and we can see that this project over here, iPhone Google Ads campaign, has popped straight up. So I'm going to click on this project now. In fact, just a word before I do that, the way the keyword search works is it looks both in the project title, but it also looks in the project description, which hasn't been added to this project here. But if you ever see a project in your keyword search and that word isn't in the title, it'll be because it's in the description. I'm just going to hide the Gantt chart view just for a moment and return to it. And what we're looking at here is your kind of one-stop shop for this project. It's your overview of the project. We can see the title up here, the client, the status of the project. So these are the list of statuses that we've got. This one has not been started, but yeah, there'll be a range of different statuses when you guys get up and running with it. The start date, which is when the project needs to be started. The due date, which is the deadline for completion. And we can also see up here how much time has been estimated for this project. So we can see that 8 hours and 40 minutes has been the time that we have allocated to complete this project in. And we can also see that there's been 8 hours, 40 minutes worth of tasks that have been planned to do for this project. So this is a good example of a project which hasn't yet been started, and all of the tasks that we need to complete the project are there ready and waiting. But no one has yet started work on it or logged any time. And this bar up here will be dynamic. So as you start logging time, which we'll see later on, you'll see this start to change. So we can see how much has been done, how much is left, and compare that against our original estimates as well. We've got over here the planned activities or tasks, and we can see that we have got in this view over here how long has been allocated to the individual tasks. So the project overall is 8 hours 40, but we can see that we've got 30 minutes put aside for the campaign experience map. We can see who's been assigned to do this work as well. So people's initials will appear, but you can hover over it to see the name. And another cool thing is that if you want to get more information about a task, but you don't want to kind of click on the task and then click back to go to the project, just hover over this little icon here and it will bring up a preview of that task where you can get some more information. Once the time has started to be logged, it will then appear in the past activities for the project. So you will be able to see all the things that people were doing, how long different things have taken. And finally, this comment section at the bottom can be a really handy thing for leaving any updates that you want the kind of project team to see that are, you know, important. So let's say, you know, client called and asked to change XYZ. You can leave a comment in here, and you can also mention people directly. So we can, lots of Christophers, you know, pick whichever Christopher or Christian we want to mention. And if we do that, we can see over here that Chris will get a notification about this. Only Chris will get the notification because he's the one that's been mentioned, but anyone else who is looking at this project will still be able to see that update. So it's a really good place to leave any kind of important information that you want the whole project team to see. Just going to click cancel that so I'm not giving you spam notifications. Any questions on the layout of the project page?
I have a question, Helen. If there's someone else tagged in the project and you don't tag them, will they also get the notification as well, or they just be able to see the post in the stream?
They should get the notification. So Chris wasn't actually a member of this project, but we were still able to notify him. And the notifications you will be able to see in your menu up here. You can see there are some new notifications because we've got this little kind of red blob. And you can actually manage your notification settings to say if you just want them to appear in Scoro or if you also want to get an email through as well. So those are things that you can personalize through your settings.
Awesome, thanks.
Welcome. Any other questions? Cool. We will move on to having a look at how you find your tasks. We can see that obviously if you're looking at a project, you can see all the tasks relating to a project, but they're not necessarily going to be the tasks assigned to you. There'll be tasks assigned to everyone in the project. I'm going to click on tasks in the top menu up here. And what we're able to see is now these are all the tasks that have been assigned to me across all projects, both client projects and maybe internal tasks as well. And your tasks are important because they tell you what you need to do, when the deadline is, and further information about the task. They're also how you log time in Scoro. So with some other time tracking systems, you can log time just against a project. With Scoro, the time always needs to be logged against a task so that it's always clear what specifically you were working on. So being able to find your tasks is important, not just for your own to-do list, but also from the perspective of them being able to record your time as well. We can see that the filters that we've got set up here are my tasks. And again, these will just be active tasks, not all the ones that have been marked as complete. And what I wanted to do is actually take you through a few options for how you can really start to customize Scoro to get the best experience for you, the views and the information that you want to keep on top of. You'll see over here that we've got this view column. I'm going to click on the little arrow next to it. And I'm just going to talk you through some of the options that we've got in here. I'm actually going to start off with the summary bar. The summary bar, as the title implies, is some information that appears at the top that will kind of total up everything in this view. So if I tick total and remaining, for example, and click display, we can now see this information has appeared up here. In this list of all the tasks that have been assigned to me, there are 23 in total. And there is 12 hours and 20 minutes worth of time remaining on those tasks. So I might have started work on some of the tasks, done some of the work already, but there's 12 hours and 20 minutes worth of time remaining. So the summary view is definitely a really, really handy feature. We've also got the data columns, and this controls the information that pulls through into all of the tasks that you see over here. So let us just do an example. Let's say we wanted to see the start date of tasks. Let's say that we also wanted to see how much time is remaining on each of these tasks. And actually, let's say that the start date for us Oh, no, sorry, I thought I could move that up, but I am not able to move that up. What I am going to do is click display. And we can see over here that the start date has now appeared in our columns. And it's automatically put it before the due date. I thought I would have to change the order myself, but it's worked out that that's the natural order you'd want to see things in. And we can also see the remaining time left on these tasks as well. So we can really start to customize these views to get the information that we want to keep on top of. Another option is you can see at the moment that they have all been grouped by date. So these tasks are overdue, these tasks are due today, these ones in the future. Now, let's say that you wanted to actually have a look at things based on projects. So rather than grouped by due dates, we could change it to grouped by projects. We can now see that we've got everything related to the iPhone 14 brochure in one group over here, the Google Ads campaign, etc. So I would encourage you all to have a play around and figure out what views kind of make best sense to you. Yeah, there's lots of other options in here as well as the ones that kind of I've shown. Now, let's say you spent a bunch of time setting up your perfect view. You've ordered things and grouped things in the way you want. You've got all the information. You've got your nice summary bar. Now, you're not going to want to come back to tasks and have to do that every single time you're on this task section. We have up here a module called bookmarks. And what you can do is save anything that you have created in this view as a bookmark. So save as bookmark. Helen test during training is what I will call it. And what I'm not going to do, and what I would recommend that all of you also do, is not tick is shared. The reason being, if you tick is shared, it shares it amongst the whole company. Now, if you're creating views that are kind of personal to you, to how you want to see the information, and you might even create, 3 or 4 different bookmarks in total. If everyone in the company does that, there's going to be a lot of bookmarks in that list. It's going to become quite cluttered. So if you're creating something which is a personal view for you, don't tick it is shared. If you are creating something for your team, which you do want other people to access, then it's different, but your own views don't tick is shared. What I'm also going to do is click add to favorite bookmarks, and I'll show you what that does in just a sec. I'm now going to click save. Now, let's say I had moved away from tasks, I'd gone into the issues section, for example, and then I'd gone back into tasks. Now we can see that my default view at the moment is just my tasks. This is the very first view that we looked at. But if I click on bookmarks, we can now see the bookmark that I created just a second ago. I'm going to click on that. And we can see that all the previous options that I'd saved are now there. Because I had ticked it as a favorite bookmark, it also means that it actually appears up here in this little bookmarks icon, which appears in your header. So in fact, if you were in issues and you wanted to get back to that bookmark in tasks, you wouldn't have to click tasks and then click on the bookmark and select the bookmark. You could go straight up here and select the bookmark from there, and then instantly you're at the right bookmark in the tasks module. The other thing that you can do, as well as tailoring what information you see, is use the filtering options. And these are really, really powerful. So at the moment, we can see that, we've got 23 tasks in there. We can see like the big picture. But let's say I want to know what do I need to do today? What are the tasks that have got a due date of today? Well, one of the options that we've got in here is to filter by due date. So clicking on that and then clicking over to the range, we can filter by due date today. And now we can see that that has reduced the task list. We've just got 2 tasks in there. So these are my key ones to focus on today. You've also got the option to filter by, where is my due date? Sorry, it's gone up here now because we selected it as a filter. So we could also look at what are the tasks that I've got coming up in the next 7 days and click filter. And now we can see that there's 18. So this is the reason why you might end up wanting to create multiple bookmarks for yourself so that you can have an overview of absolutely everything that is assigned to you, grouped by project or due date or whatever makes sense, but also more filtered views with your tasks that are due today or the current week or next 7 days, etc. And the date fields are dynamic, so it won't be a kind of the next 7 days from the date I created the bookmark. It will always be 7 days from whenever you visit the bookmark. So that was quite a lot that we went through there, and I apologize for not breaking for questions as we went. But yeah, just to kind of recap, we had a look at the different things that you've got in your view options with your summary bar and your data columns and your grouping, as well as the filtering options that you've got in here, not just limited to due date, but as you can see, you can filter by status, a specific project, priority, etc. Any questions or comments? Okay. And just like we looked at with our projects, there is also the option to search for a task by keyword. So if I start searching for AM review, we will see that my task, which is called AM review, has come up in the list. So that's another way that you can quickly find a specific task. And yeah, that's pretty much everything to kind of cover on the task list. But another really cool way of viewing your tasks is via the task board. This is a much more visual representation of your tasks, and I know is often the kind of preferred route for many people. We can see that it's still pulling through everything that has been assigned to me, all of my tasks, so 23 in total, same data as before. But the difference is, rather than looking at it in a long list, we can actually view it in columns. We can see that the default kind of view is by status. So we've got 21 tasks that are not started. And in fact, if we are working on our tasks from this view, we can easily just drag tasks from one status to another to change the status, which is pretty cool. But again, there's lots of different options in here. We could have our columns as projects, so we can now see everything to do with our different projects in one view. The task board is not necessarily any better than the task list or vice versa. It's the same information, but it really depends on how you like to consume it. If you want a more visual way to consume it versus kind of more of a list format. And you will, of course, be able to continue using your filters in here. So, you know, if we wanted to see all of my tasks that are due, let us pick the current week, click filter. We can now see how that breaks down. So what's today? Tuesday. I know that in between now and Friday, I've got to complete these 3 tasks for this project, 7 for this and 8 for this. And again, if you've got your filters set up and your viewing options set up, and this is a view that you want to return to, save it as a bookmark. And let's say you found the view that you liked more than anything else, so the default view that you want to see when you come into your task board is this layout here, you can save that as your default view as well. Yeah, that will just be the view that you see. You can change it to something else in the future, but yeah, when you found your perfect view, you can set it as your default. Any questions on the task board? Okay, what we'll start having a look at now is how to log time. So, as you will all remember, time is always logged against a task in Scoro. Let's pick our AM review task as an example. We're now looking at the task, so we can see a breakdown of who created the task, who it's assigned to, the project it belongs to, dates, how much time has been budgeted for this task, etc. There's also the option to write comments in a task if you ever need to. And there's a button up here called Start Time Tracker. If I click on Start Time Tracker, you'll see two things have happened. One is that we've got this little timer up in the top menu over here, telling us how many seconds we spent on this task so far. We can also see that there is an active time tracker for this project. We can see from this kind of grey-green bar over here, and the option to kind of pause it, either from this view, or if we click over here, we can also pause the time entry here. Now, the time tracker, after chatting things through with Chris and Matt, is generally speaking the primary way that you should be logging your time in Scoro. So when you're ready to start work on a task, you find the task, you click Start on the time tracker, and it will then just record your time. Obviously, you do need to be conscious of the fact that if you get interrupted by a phone call, that you pause your time tracker. So pause, you finished your phone call, you can just jump in and click Start again. And if you're continuing working on a task, but you might have a few little interruptions, you might click pause, several times. But when you have finished on this task for, the immediate future, you're not planning to do any more work on it today, and you want to record your time, you'll see that from this view over here, we've got these three little buttons over here, and we can see that there's an option to mark it as time, mark it as done, which will record our time. There's also the option to modify it. If you forget to, let's say, pause your timer when you went off for lunch and you come back and you think, I haven't been working on this task for an hour, it's only been 15 minutes, you can modify it. And if you click Start by mistake or, whatever, you've got the delete option over here as well. So let's just click on the modify just so that we can see what that looks like. You are able to modify the time from in here. You've got options within the drop down to set how long you were working on the task for. And you can as well leave a description. And I would say that certainly if you're working on any longer tasks, it can be really helpful to leave a description, because then people know what you were doing. If, on the other hand, it's a really short 15 minutes task and you've started and finished the task, you might not necessarily need a description to accompany it. The kind of task title works as the description. But if you're working on a longer task over a longer time period, it might be useful to go first draft created, or anything else that might help your project managers understand where things are. We've also got in here the activity type, which is not currently set up to be a mandatory field, but might be going forward. Is that right, Chris?
Yes.
So what the activity types are they're like categories of how you're spending your time. And the benefit of associating your time logged with kind of an activity type or category is that you'll get, you know, a much greater understanding of how your time is being spent. So, for example, if you have an activity type for client communications, you'll be able to see any instances where there might be clients who need a lot more ongoing communication than other clients, as an example. So it really helps you to kind of understand and analyze time usage within the business. They are still in progress at the moment, and they're not set as a mandatory field. Chris, once he has kind of finished getting the categories together and inputting them, will let you know. And then at that point, you will notice that you're not able to save your time unless it's been associated with an activity type. However, in the vast majority of cases, when the project has been set up at the same time as setting up the tasks, they will be assigned an activity type at that point. So it's not something that you need to do every single time when you're logging time. When it's the task is created, it will be linked to the activity type. So it will be pre-filled for you in most instances. But if you ever needed to change it for any reason, you can change it from within this menu. But yeah, it should mostly just be in place for you. So yeah, Chris will keep you posted on kind of when that comes into being used. And just finally, you'll see that we've got this done tick box over here. This needs to be ticked to actually record your time. So it's the equivalent of kind of, you know, saving something as a draft to kind of actually, you know, saving it in its final version. If the done tick isn't ticked, it won't appear in your time logs. Now, for testing purposes, I'm just going to put, let's say, an hour and 15 on this. I'll put a little description, training to delete and click save. We can now see that we have got our time entry over here on this task. We can also see that out of the 15 minutes that was allocated for this task, we've gone way over. We've spent an hour 15 on it, so we've got an hour overtime. So this is what I mean by these progress bars becoming dynamic and real time based on your progress and time that's being logged. You will be able to see the minute you start kind of you know, going over time and just kind of keep tabs on everything. We can also see, if I just click to open up the project view, whereas before when we looked at past activities, there was nothing in here because no time had been logged. We can now see that this hour and 15 is recorded in the project as well. Finally, you'll be able to see your time, of course, from your dashboard. So let's just go back to the dashboard and we can see my hours today are showing an hour and 15. And if we click on that, that will then take us through to the kind of detailed view, which shows you all the time that you've logged today. So this as well as anything else. But let's just kind of loop back to the time tracker. Any questions on how this works or yeah, anything that we've covered or maybe not covered?
Helen, would you mind just showing the logging time through, and it could just be very quick, just logging it through the project, through the project itself on the project screen, and then also on the task screen as well? Absolutely,
that is certainly in my list. So we can have a quick look at that now. So the kind of process that we just used to kind of log our time was we had an open task on the screen and we clicked start time tracker from the task. However, let's say we were actually in the project view. We can also log time from anywhere we see the task, we can log time from it. So we don't have to have the task open. We can see the task in a list. So we might be looking at the project and, you know, we can see our task in here. And if you hover over it, you'll see this little stopwatch appears. And here you have the option to start time tracker. If we click that, you'll see that the time tracker in the top menu has started counting up. So you don't have to have the task open to use the time tracker. You can do it from the project view. You could also do it from your task list view as well. So let's say we were looking at all of our tasks. Again, hover over anything, click on the stopwatch, and you've got the time tracker option over here. And when you are finished working on the task, again, you can be on a completely different screen. You might have moved over to calendar or dashboard or, you know, wherever. All you need to do to stop and record your time is go up here. And I'm just going to wait for it to get to a full minute, and then we will click pause. And one thing I didn't show you before, because we looked at the modify view, is that you can simply just mark it as done. So mark as done, and that's now done. Now let us refresh our dashboard view, and we can see that that has ticked up by 1 minute. Previously it was 1 hour 15, now it's 1 hour 16. And if we click over here, we can see our 2 time entries, one for the first one we did and one for the minute that we just recorded. Did that cover everything, Chris? I know that we want to have a quick look at manual time logging as well, so retrospectively, which is next on my list of things to cover. But did anyone have any questions about like using the time tracker, the kind of stopwatch functionality? Super duper. All right. One final way that you can log time, let's say you started work on a task, but you'd forgot to click your time tracker. It happens to the best of us. You can retrospectively add your time. So again, we can do this just from seeing a task in a list like this, hovering it over and clicking, rather than start time tracker, add time entry. Now this will look all quite familiar. It's the same kind of little pop-up that we saw when we'd use the stopwatch to record our time. But the difference is, rather than it being kind of pre-populated with, you know, when you had started and stopped the time tracker, it will kind of default show the amount of time that was allocated to this task and that is remaining in this task. Now, if you have finished this task and if you spent 20 minutes on it, great, you won't need to change it. However, if you know, you'd only spent 5 minutes on it, or maybe it had taken you longer, it had taken you 30 minutes, you would just need to alter the time so that it is the correct time. So the stopwatch is great because you know, you don't have to remember or think about when you started work on a task. I mean, I've try doing that, but sometimes my brain can, you know, really mislead me, and I think I've been spending, you know, half an hour on something that's actually only been 10 minutes or vice versa. So using the time tracker just takes away having to record or think about things. But if you forget to do it, then you can just add the time entry manually, again through a list view like this, or if you happen to be looking at the task itself, you can also add a time entry from this view over here. I appreciate it might feel like you're getting loads of information and there's loads and loads of different ways to do things. Once you've started using it and things become more familiar, these things are a help because you don't have to spend pointless clicks and pointless time getting to a certain place as Scoro to do things. You've got the ability to do you know, the same thing from lots of different places. So it's definitely a benefit in the long term. But I appreciate, yes, might feel kind of a little bit overwhelming now, but hopefully not for long. And I'm sure you guys will be, you know, hitting the ground running very soon indeed with your background. The final thing on logging time was, if we go into the task section, what the kind of process will be for everyone would it be at the end of the week, Chris, on a Friday afternoon when you've kind of, you know, finished for the week? Is that the kind of point where you would like people to be checking through their timesheets for the week and submitting them?
Yes.
Brilliant. Just wanted to confirm. So yeah, an important kind of new part of the process for everyone will be this end of week check to make sure that you have got everything logged that you should have and it is accurate. And that's what the timesheet view is really great for. As you can see, it will give you a day-by-day view of the current week, and it will pull in all of the tasks that are assigned to you. And we can see, obviously, up here, you know, we've logged an hour 16 from our 2 different time entries on this task, so that has been pre-populated. But you have then got the option to go in and, you know, add time to a task if you had forgotten to do so, and just check that everything is correct. What you might find useful to do for your kind of default timesheet view is the default view when you first go in is it will just show you all your tasks that have been assigned to you. Now, if you have quite a lot of tasks assigned to you, but a lot of them are in like a few weeks plus time and you're not really working on those in favor of, you know, your kind of tasks that have got a due date of this week or next week, again, you can use the filters to you know, reduce down that list a little bit. You'll work out what's going to be the best view for you once you've actually got your tasks in there and you can see what you're working with. But that's definitely quite a good approach to take for the timesheet view if you do have a really long list of things that are assigned to you in the far future. Once you're happy with all of your time in here, there's this button, Submit Week, and then that will kind of push off the report. So yeah, hopefully fairly simple as processes go, but the kicker can always be in remembering to do it in the first place. So one thing you might like to think of is just having, you know, maybe something in your calendar at the end of the day on Friday as a little reminder to, you know, check, update and submit your timesheet for the week.
If I could just add real quick to this for the team, one of the reasons why we wanted to implement something like this for you guys is for the visibility of your tasks that you're working on every week, but also to help reassign if something maybe slipped under the radar for whatever reason. So as an example, if, you know, creating a keyword map was not completed and you realize by looking at this overview, you're like, oh man, I forgot to do that. Now it gives you the ability to click into it, reassign the due date that needs to go to it, reconnect with your client, say, hey, listen, I know I was supposed to get you this, but I'm going to get it to you on Monday now, whatever it might be. It just helps give you that visibility in your day now to understand if everything has been completed, if you need to reassign tasks, communicate with your clients, etc. So it's more of a overview and accountability standpoint for yourselves.
Thanks, Chris. And yeah, when we use, so my kind of story is before I started working for Scoro, I actually used to be a customer of Scoro. I ran a digital web design agency, and you know, it really was quite transformative in terms of the visibility and autonomy it gave the team to, you know, see their tasks, manage deadlines better. It's typically not a case of people checking up on you. It's, you know, looking at how we can benefit from that enhanced visibility and collaboration. And these kind of checks at the end of the week, as Chris said, just help to make sure that, you know, things don't slip through the cracks and you can keep on top of things. So we've got 10 minutes left. I'm just going to quickly recap what we have looked through today, and then open it up for any questions. If there aren't any questions, I might have some time to take you through how you can customize your dashboards. But if not, we have got another session tomorrow morning, so we'll look at that then. So we started off looking at the dashboard view, which is the first thing you see when you land on Scoro, and it's your kind of portal of all your important information, where you can then link through to kind of get to the details. We talked about how you can customize your menu via menu settings. We talked about how you can customize your profile settings with your picture, contact information, if you ever need to change your password, etc. And the little help button, which is always present throughout Scoro. We then had a look at your project list. Again, the filter and the view options, just like we looked at for tasks, are also present for projects. So if you end up getting a long list of projects, you might choose to filter them or have some viewing options and kind of to save your favorite view as your default bookmark. We looked at a project page where we can see the total time allocated for the project, all of the tasks within it, and again, if time's been logged, etc. This is our one-stop shop for seeing everything to do with this project. And we looked at tasks. So different ways we can find tasks. One way being through a project, but that will be everyone's tasks. But to keep a focus on your tasks, the task list view over here with all of the view options and the filtering options. The task board, which is our more visual display. And of course, the timesheet option, which is a nice way to keep track of everything with a due date of you know, the current week or the next 2 weeks, and make sure that your time is all in order before submitting it. And logging time, which is always through a task. So let's just go back to the list view. Anywhere we hover over a task and we can see our stopwatch icon, we can start our time tracker, which is the preferred method. There's also the option to add a time entry manually if you have forgotten to add your time. Does anyone have any questions or areas of Scoro that they'd like to revisit? Amazing. Well, I will send the recording over to you, so you'll have that to look back on if you would like. I'll also send a few articles to the Help Center, which just have, you know, quick articles, screenshots and videos if you just wanted to refresh yourself about how to, you know, use the filters or things like that. So in the 5 minutes remaining, Chris, would you like me to give people an introduction to like the dashboards, or is there anything else that you would like to speak about?
No, because I have a session after this with the team, so there's a couple of things that we were going to dive in, but you can quickly show the the dashboard and how to customize that, that'd be great.
Super. So the specialist dashboard that we see over here is a kind of a default dashboard, which is kind of shared by lots of people. This is your starting view, but because it's a shared resource, it's not one that you can customize. However, what you can do is these three little icons up here. They look a bit like train tracks. If you click on that, you will see that you've got the option to duplicate the current dashboard. Now, if I want to create my own dashboard with all the things that matter to me, it's not relevant to other people, I'm going to untick shared with other users. You should only tick that if you're genuinely creating something, for your team, as opposed to a personal view. And let's call it Helen test to delete. And click save. We have now got exactly the same dashboard as we were just looking at, but we can see that this is my dashboard, and we can set it as the default dashboard. Also, if we ever want to rename it, we've got all the options in the little train track symbol up here. And the kind of main difference is that we can now see that there is this option to add to dashboard. And what that allows you to do is to start pulling in information that is particularly relevant to you. So let's say I'm going to click on the result metric, and I'm going to click on Browse Bookmarks Library. You've got lots of inspiration and ideas here of things that you might want to pull through. Not all of these are going to be relevant to you. Invoices and bills, anything to do with finance, you can just ignore. But let's look at productivity, for example. We can see that there's an option in here for my task due this week. So let's click on that. Now, because this is a result kind of view, you can see that it's just told us that we've got 18 tasks that are due this week. It's the number that it's reporting on. This is a portal, as we know. So if I click on this, let me just open that in a new tab. We can see that it's actually taken us through to the task list view, and it's pre-filtered my tasks with a due date of the current week. So that's how it works. Let's say that I didn't want to see just the number of tasks, but I wanted to see the actual titles of the tasks like we've got over here. I'm going to click Add to Dashboard again, but this time I'm going to click Widget. The kind of diagrams over here give you an indication of what they'll look like on your dashboard, and you can see that the widget is kind of like a list view, whereas your result metric is like one piece of information. So, new widget, Browse Bookmarks Library, again, productivity, and you've got various options in here. Now, we don't actually have in the widget options the My Tasks due this week. We've got My Activities this week. Let's just click on that, which I believe this is looking at tasks from the lens of activity types, which we haven't yet kind of fully set up or started using on Scoro. Let's just kind of take a step back. Let's say, so we've got My Task due this week, 18 tasks, but we want to see this as a widget, but we've just discovered it doesn't exist in the widget options of the kind of the preset ones. Now, this is where you can start creating your own bookmarks with the information you want and then pulling them into your dashboard. So let's go into this filtered list where we can see my tasks with a due date of the current week. And I am going to save this as a bookmark. So my task due this week. Let me just put my name in front of it so it's clear that I created it. I'm not going to click as shared because it's just a view for me, and I'm going to click save. Now, when we go back to our dashboard, we are going to add a widget, but this time we are going to choose from bookmarks. Excuse me. I start typing in my name, and we can see my tasks due this week have come up in the list. Sorry, I just need to pause for 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay. There's quite a few options because in this widget view, we have the space for more information. We can choose what information we pull in here. So we can see that this is what's been ticked by default, but let's say it's really just the project and the kind of status and the due date that we wanted to see. We can untick so that we've just got that view and click save. And now we can see this widget has been created over here. So these are all the tasks due this week in widget form. And how we did that was through saving a bookmark in the task list. And then we were able to pull that bookmark into your personal dashboard. So your scope is really quite endless. You could create bookmarks for, my task due today, my task due for one specific project, all of my tasks due this month. There's really so much that you can do. And as you use Scoro more and more, and you start thinking, I'm regularly needing to find this information in this place, that is a prime candidate then to say, right, create a bookmark for it, pull it into a dashboard. And then when it's in your dashboard, it acts as a portal to take you into that information, as well as reporting on the kind of key top line information. So I appreciate that was a very whistle-stop tour because we only had a few minutes remaining, but hopefully that has shown you how to get started. So we began by looking at how you would click to duplicate the current dashboard so that you can create your own one. And once you've got your own one, that's when you can then start adding things into your dashboard using the button up here. Right, we have just popped over time, so we'll wrap it up there, but we've got another session tomorrow where I'll be working with you again. It will be more of an interactive session where you'll be setting up projects and tasks, so your active projects and tasks. Yeah, it should be more exciting than just listen to me for a full hour. Chris is going to stay on with you now to help get your access sorted, and if you've got any questions, I'm sure he'll be able to help, and anything that Chris can't answer, we can always cover tomorrow. What I would encourage you to do at a kind of a minimum when you log in is to customize your menu. That's not to say it won't change as you start using Scoro and you think I want to rearrange it, but get it into an order that makes sense initially. Check out your profile settings, make sure they're all up to date. And just go around and get familiar. You're not going to see much information in projects and tasks yet, because although Angelica has all of the test data assigned to her, not many other people do. So those, don't worry if you go into those sections and they are empty. They will certainly be full tomorrow after we've had our next session. That was it from my side. Chris, anything else that you wanted to mention before we stop this session and then you guys go into your next one?
No, I think everything was great.
Fantastic. If there are any questions that come up during the course of the day, Chris, feel free to ping them through by email, and I'll make sure that we can try and cover them tomorrow. But thank you very much for your time, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll speak again tomorrow.
Thanks, Helen. And everyone, if you just click into the Google Meet link that I sent you, you can pop in there.
Bye,
Awesome.
guys.
Thanks, Helen.